Britain bracing itself for its first Arctic blast of the winter this week. The chief executive of Utilita Energy is calling on the government to intervene to avoid people dying because of the cold. He's especially concerned about those on non-smart prepayment meters who aren't topping up because of the cost.
Last week, Bill Bullen told this programme his company can't afford to employ any more people to help handle calls from customers because they're being asked to run at a loss. He joins us now.
Very good morning to you, Bill Bullen.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us again this morning. I think your comments to Ben and Kate last Friday on Good Morning Britain caused, quite a lot of questions to be asked, one of which was, you had responded by saying you don't have the money to employ more people to answer calls. We've had this email this morning. I'd like you to ask the Utilita boss what excuse you can use for the abject lack of customer service the whole industry has provided for years, especially for prepay customers when in difficult situations. It's not good enough to say they're now making a loss. They can't afford the advisors on the phone. It's been like that for a long time. This person says a disabled person whose prepay meter became faulty at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night can't get any help. No lights, no heating, no out-of-hours numbers.
OK, so look, I can't really speak for all companies, but what I can absolutely say is that over the last 3 years, my company has been forced to run a loss, now mounting to about £100 million as a consequence of the price capping regime. That has real impacts on what we can do as a business, and there's no getting around it. There's no magic solution to that. So, we want to help as much as we can, and one of the things that we're doing, of course, with Smart Prepay is trying to automate all of those customer service, requests. And my heart goes out to that case you've just talked about. We're a specialist prepay supplier. We have a disproportionately large number of people in vulnerable circumstances. So, I completely understand it. And, all I can say is that as far as my team is concerned, we get up every morning, we give it 110% every day of the week. But there's a limit to what we can do. And, we're not perfect.
No, well,
but,
Kath,
I understand the problem, and of course,
well, let me
it's
just
now
give you
getting
some
cold, and this is now becoming really critical.
It is. Kath says, I really need help. I cannot get in touch with Utilita. I have a prepayment meter when I moved in. If I'm honest, I never really minded it until now. I'm having to put £25 on every 2 days. It's getting ridiculous. I can't afford to keep this up. Utilita aren't answering my calls, and I'm starting to panic. What would you say to Kath?
First of all, look, we can deal with that specific situation, but if anybody that's got any kind of vulnerability, special needs, there's ways of getting in touch with us, getting onto our special needs line, and we prioritise those customers. Obviously, if we don't know about the condition, that's when it's going to be more difficult. But the reality is, and I'm going to say it again, it's tough for us right now. We've been forced to lose £100 million in just 3 years. How much more are we supposed to do?
Can I just ask about that? According to your latest financial report submitted 2021, the turnover is 813 million. The gross profit is 81 million.
Correct.
So your profit is 81 million?
No, Susanna, I'm really sorry, but that clearly shows that you don't understand how to read financial statements.
No,
I'm sure Martin, who's probably sitting right next to you, completely understands that it's the bottom line that counts. Those, at a gross profit level, but that's purely a financial term.
Right.
That is before you take into account all of the costs of running a business. It's the bottom line that matters. Now, I know this story has been reverberating around the Twitter sphere for months now, but it's from ignorance. People just do not understand what they're looking at.
So what's the net profit that the company's making, or the profit before tax that the company's making, roughly, or loss before tax? Where are you? Let's make it straight.
It's a loss. We've been losing probably about £30 million a year.
Okay.
So
during this month of December, we estimate we're going to be losing £1 million a day.
Right. Look, you're here on the programme to answer the question, so it's perfectly reasonable for you to set out the case. I'm just in the position of saying this is the gross profit, as you know, which is on your accounts.
I understand.
Bill, so obviously, one of the things I'm looking at the moment is people not getting their vouchers for prepayment, their £66. You are by far not the worst...
And this is a big problem. This is the problem I really want to talk about.
You're by far not the worst offender on this, but I still have, on a self-selecting survey, and I need to caveat that, 17% of people, of your customers, saying they haven't got their prepayment vouchers. What is going wrong? Is this a systemic problem or is this an individual problem? What can we do to help people? You actually understand the mechanics, so what can we do to help and why is it happening?
So, first of all, those vouchers only apply to dumb prepay, OK, old-fashioned prepay, and that's the problem we really need to be talking about. For smart prepay, these EBS payments are going straight onto the account right at the start of the month. We've got 95% of our prepay customers on smart prepay, and that money just goes through. But about 40% of all the EBS payment vouchers that have gone out for dumb prepay, and that's right across the industry, it's not just supplier, have not been cashed. And you're right to say, actually, that the Secretary of State did write out to all supply companies and said, this is a problem you've got to sort out. But here's the news, right? Grant Shapps is actually the person that's got the power to solve this problem because he is still allowing supply companies to install dumb prepay meters. If you install smart prepay meters, these EBS payments will all just be going through straight at the start of the month.
I accept that.
Plus, of course, they'd have all the other benefits of having a smart meter.
I agree with you, and smart prepayment meters is the way forward and should be encouraged. 100% on board with that. But you have dumb prepayment meter customers, the old style where you have to go a Kia card and go to PayPoint or somewhere to load it on, who are saying they have not received their vouchers. Redeeming them is a different matter. They have not received their vouchers. Why is that happening? What do you think is happening and what can individuals do about it?
Well, I guess there might be a number of things. OK, so we know that for all of those customers that we're supposed to send out an EBS voucher for, which is only those last 5% for us, so about 2% of our customers overall have not cashed that money. But there may be a number of reasons. We know we've sent those out, OK? That's beyond doubt. But, of course, a customer... One, they may not have been delivered for some reason. Two, the customer may not have opened the letter for some reason, perhaps because there's been a change of tenancy. Quite often in rented properties, people turn over and the supply company doesn't know the name of the person that's actually in the property at the time. And also, another point you need to remember is if you've got a sub-meter, so in other words, there's a main meter, but you're actually not directly connected to the supply network, the government scheme says you're not entitled to an EBS payment. Now, we as a business have been making payments to those customers anyway from our own resources because we kind of... They should be passing it on, but they're not entitled. If you don't have a direct connection to the electricity network, you're just not entitled to one.
So...
the landlord is obligated to pass on a share of the one EBS payment for the whole block, but that's not going to really cut it.
And while this is, of course, systemic across the industry, this is not a Utilita-only issue. If Utilita customers feel they should have had their prepayment voucher from you, have not got their prepayment voucher, as 17% of the 228 Utilita respondents in my survey tell me, how do they get in contact with you to get that voucher the best way?
Well, I'm going to have to ask them to be patient. Obviously, try and call us. Don't call us in the mornings because that's our real peak times. But if you call us outside of the morning, afternoon, or even evenings, we operate pretty much around the clock. So if you call us outside of peak times, you're much more likely to get through. There's also other ways of getting in touch with us, obviously by email and on chatbots and that kind of thing. So get in contact with us. It may be that we've got the wrong details for you. I'm sorry about that. But, we will sort the problem out and we will get either get a meter installed, smart meter installed, or we will get the EBS payment to you as quickly as we can.
And, of course, it's very important, not just for your company, but for any company. If you are a vulnerable customer out there, if you have vulnerabilities, then you need to be on what's called the Priority Service Register. And then, Bill, you would have an obligation to prioritise them and to make sure they're treated. For example, a simple example,
and we do.
You're diabetic, you keep insulin in your fridge. Therefore, your fridge cannot go off because that is a health condition. You have to prioritise those customers, and they should get themselves on that register, shouldn't they?
Absolutely, that's really important. We can't help if we don't know about it. But also, I would, if you have got a condition like that, even if you're on prepay, you can set up. If you're on smart prepay, you can set up an auto pay. So as soon as your credit drops to, say £2, you can automatically, without you doing anything, top up £5. So that makes sure that you never disconnect.
If people have the money.
Bill Bullen, you have already made it clear that people looking at the gross profits figure need to look beyond it, that you're running at a loss. You've said on this programme you cannot afford to employ more people to handle calls, but even while you've been on air, we've been inundated with people who have problems. Can we pass those on? When viewers get in touch, can we pass their issues on to your company so that they can be addressed? Because people, frankly, are in despair about not being able to get through.
Look, of course you can. I have a very full inbox every day of the week, but we do get to those customers. We do respond to every, request that comes into me. We respond to it.
All right, we'll pass those on. Thanks very much indeed.